Alrighty, welcome to another chaotic episode of the Lockdown Podcast. Continuing to pick apart Raw, SmackDown, most recently Saturday Night Main Event. I would say there's a lot to get to, and there's never ever enough time. It feels like because I don't feel like I want to go on for 20 hours because we could. It's
We
possible.
could.
It's possible. I don't know if it's probable, but it is possible. So we kicked off Raw this past week with basically another one of the tropes of all tropes of a face off between the two people going after a title, that being CM Punk and Jey Uso going for the vacant World Heavyweight title. And you know, I loved the things that weren't scripted. And in the funniest part of the whole bit was before they even started talking. It was Jay comes out, does his whole, nonsense, and it wasn't in the script for CM Punk to basically say. And so we got the run back of CM Punk, and I love the fact that one, he can get away with it, right? See, like CM Punk has been in the business for decades, so like him improving a little bit, he knows what he's doing. He's the master of the pipe bomb. He's the master of the mic drop. So to get away with that is it was honestly kind of funny, and it was a small thing, but I feel like when you know the backstory, but yeah, I mean, and so they chirp as they do, and I mean, it could like for the matchup, it really could have gone either way, but um you definitely seen, a mixed review, of who was in the match. I won't jump the gun on Saturday Night Main Event, but like, I it was really bad. And it was 100,000 plus dislikes for one performer. So like it's social media is talking. Let's put it that way. Um but so we have a number 1 contenders match for the IC title, Penta versus Rusev. And so you've seen a backstage segment beforehand with Judgment Day talking, and everybody kind of being like, "Well, Dom, you're kind of on your own, right?"
Mhm.
And so Dom ends up making, a said phone call. Obviously turns out to be obviously a grande or Americano. And so the Penta Rusev match, that was a good match until it got interrupted by Los Americanos. And I love that Adam Pearce and Nick Aldis are absolute G's at their job.
Mm.
And so basically Dom ends up thinking he's getting away with this whole thing, and basically turns what would be a singles match into a triple threat at Saturday Night Main Event. So good on him for not letting Dom get away, with this clear shenanigans. And not even Judgment Day. Like I feel like Dominic, he just kind of goes with whoever's going to help him out.
Yeah. Yep.
And and I think this is kind of one of those, again, small cracks, in regards to the the dismantling of Judgment Day, just because you're starting to see people, especially Finn Balor and JD McDonough, kind of like, dude, you didn't help me out, like you on your own. Like
Right. Right.
so it's subtle. I feel like, I'm still rooting for Judgment Day's implosion.
I
So like,
don't think anyone is not rooting for the implosion. It needs to happen a lot sooner than later. However, it'll be fun to see Dominic's character kind of evolve to be able to handle things on his own. It makes him a more complete character as opposed to like kind of always hiding behind Judgment Day.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think this is kind of like those character details that sometimes just get missed.
Yeah, and I think that, Dom has gotten very good at basically being hated and for cutting corners and basically, let's call it like it is, cheating.
Mm.
But, like, you know what? His character work, you gotta respect it.
Yeah,
Like
he's
like,
really come
you
into his
know
own. Yep, he really
and
has.
it's really to the point now, like, where his loyalty is to the highest bidder. Um, and so, wherever he falls, I'm sure he'll do fine.
Yeah,
So yeah, it's honestly kind of it's been fun to watch him develop
yeah,
because
it has been.
like I've said in weeks prior is that I was the biggest skeptic, the biggest hater of Dominic Mysterio, and for me to kind of make a kind of a 180 and kind of like, okay, like, there's something here and he's
Right.
been putting in the work. So you just got to give respect where respect is due. So, I mean, to get, because I mean, for even brief moments, like he's had cheers versus boos. So, like, you're seeing kind of a changing of the tides a little bit because like he's expecting all these boos, and I think it was a PLE, maybe I think it might have been in AAA, and
Oh,
and
yeah,
he ex
like in AAA, yeah,
and he
they
got
were
like
just
he got cheered. So
yeah,
like he went back in the ring and he's like, all right, cool. Like, So I feel like he's walking the tightrope. Um,
mhm,
but so I don't know why they keep shoving Roxanne Perez down our throat. So Roxanne Perez has another match, at least against someone different, thank God, than the normal three. But against the Hall of Famer in Nikki Bella. And we talked beforehand how Nikki Bella already has her credentials.
right,
She's already in the Hall of Fame. She's in, and for her to kind of come back and basically kind of putting over talent,
yeah,
and I think that she's still teaching them in the ring as, someone who's been, has been with the company for a decade and change, and so I think it's a nod to the next, the future, the now, generation of wrestlers, being that it's like you have a lot of you have a lot of the 40 plus wrestlers, but you got a lot of 20s coming up. And
mm,
so to kind of get that nod from Nikki Bella, it's good for business. But I feel like if they don't do something with Roxanne Perez like now, they've wasted this push for the last year. 'Cause she has, I think her and LA Knight have the most televised matches currently. And so like if you're not going to do something with this besides just put her in a million singles and tag matches,
mhm,
like I feel like they're going to miss, because if all of a sudden she's off TV for a couple weeks or something, or doesn't have matches but does backstage segments or whatever, like you got to strike while the iron's hot. And right now, she, has probably more wins than losses. And so,
yeah,
I you really got to strike while the iron's hot. And whether it's the Intercontinental or the United States, I don't care. Just put a strap on her that's not a tag belt.
mm. They've gotta be waiting for something. Like, they didn't push Stephanie Valcour, at all, in my opinion, um, until she, like, won a championship, and even now, I don't think, like, they're, like, super pushing her. I wonder if she was off, like, TV and off cards because Saturday night main event because of possible knee injury that she suffered last week. So I don't know if that was the case or it's just they might be trying a different showcasing method on Raw, where one week it's a few people and the
Yeah.
next week it's other people, but I digress. So I don't she's got something interesting going on because when Liv comes back, then we can have that feud and then we can push her into like championship pictures and championship runs. And it's not a bad thing. Here's the thing that I did want to mention is that I would not be surprised that with Roxanne and Raquel that they run back a Shawn Michaels, Kevin Nash, Diesel storyline,
Yeah.
and so we've got about a year, I would say, with that happening before we see Raquel and Roxanne, implode, or Raquel and Liv, or whomever. Um, so I do see them doing something like that with Raquel. Um, I, you know
You
what,
do you think
I
she's more of a placeholder at this point?
for Liv.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say she's a placeholder, but I will say she's Liv's replacement, and Liv can go on to do something other with Raquel, and maybe that is, the Shawn Michaels, Kevin Nash, Diesel um, storyline,
Yeah.
with Raquel.
Or yeah.
Yeah, I can't see Raquel not being a champion within the next 2 years. That would be stupid. I mean,
Right.
she's a very good talent. I think putting a championship on her intercontinental, she might even have some Razor Ramon vibes if you throw the intercontinental or the US
Yeah.
on her, and have her like rehash one of those old stories. I think WWE is going to start looking deeper into their past in order to get stars of the future over. And we're going to see some of the same recipes that they did back in the 90s and the early 2000s now because, you know, it's not fresh in people's mind. It'll seem familiar, but it'll be with different players,
Yeah.
different generation. So, yeah, I
And
definitely, yeah, that's
and I
where it's going to go.
yeah, and I think some of it is too is that they have to slowly weed out current talent, just because a lot of the talent, is between 40 and 48 years old, and so like I feel like it's going to be a slow transition. Like I'm not saying like some of these wrestlers in their 40s can't go into their 50s. Like I don't doubt that a
Mhm.
majority of them can go into their 50s, but at what point in time do you kind of pass the baton, to the next generation without seeming like you're just kind of throwing them away?
I think Randy Orton was the last under 25 world champion. And that was decades ago, right? So if I were to really think about it for a hot second, I don't think they're going to make anybody under 25, 26 world champion until they can show that they have the professional mentality to carry that championship on screen and off screen. Randy Orton, you know, you know, he was a hot mess in his 20s and early 30s.
Right.
But at the same time, it's like there's a different mindset with the newer stars in WWE. So I think that we could see a Braun Breaker at WrestleMania be world champion. We could see a Bronson Reed, the veterans, the over the 40 club in WWE. I think if Triple H and creative um, has any respect for them, they'll start putting straps on them, putting championships on them, giving them the opportunity. So it would make sense to have upstarts and younger people start carrying the company. You're not going to have another Brock Lesnar anytime soon. You're not going to have another John Cena anytime soon. You're not going to have, well, perhaps you might have another Randy Orton sometime in the near future, but there's a lot of key veterans that you're not going to have anytime soon that you might as well just, if they're good to go and the work is mutual and it's respectful, do it. If that's, this is your goal and this is what you want to do and business is going well, do it. I would not be mad at a 50-year-old, 50+ year old R Truth being undisputed world champion. I would
Yeah.
be ecstatic for that.
Yeah, I mean, and that's one of those things where, like, some performers in pretty much any industry, or whether it's wrestling, movies, TV, whatever, like, sometimes people function best in the background. And I think as much as we want to see our truth at least get his respect to be a champion, I don't see it.
Yeah.
I know we want it, and I know you have all, especially you, who's lobbied for this since day one, is that we want to see it. It's not probable though. Just
Yeah, it's
it's
100% not probable under the Triple H regime or under anyone else that does not value older talent being champions and still having the draw power. Our truth is a lot less believable than a Sami Zayn or a Chad Gable. Um, but anything can happen. Anything can happen in WWE, in
yeah,
professional wrestling. So again, like, those are pipe dreams and wishes. But I think that pushing younger talent sooner than later, I think we're both on the same page. How we get to that process might be different paths, but we both want to see younger talent challenging for world championships, starting to lead the company, being the face of the company, having in and out of ring stories and experiences that catapult them into those levels that a John Cena has had, that a Randy Orton has had,
yeah,
that a CM Punk has had.
yeah, and
So yeah, it takes time.
it takes the right direction of creative. And
Yeah.
now, so back to Raw though. So we had Braun Breaker versus LA Knight, which again is just a recycled match. And I mean, it really sucks that as over as LA Knight is, like, they haven't even gone secondary title with him yet.
Mhm.
And, at the very least, you could have put him on a secondary. I mean, it's kind of crazy to think that Jey Uso won a secondary being as over as he is, and then moved on to the top championship in all before LA Knight's even done anything. And LA Knight is over, beyond over.
Right.
Um, but so Braun Breaker obviously beats LA Knight in this match with his crazy spear of 23 miles an hour, which is honestly mind blowing. We have JD McDonough face off against Sheamus, and obviously with Judgment Day interference as always, JD gets the win over Sheamus. And Sheamus is another one of those guys that, like, he has been to the top of the mountain, and he's still chasing his Intercontinental to make him a Grand Slam. And I don't know why they have thwarted this off from him. He hasn't, like, he's been just in the middle of the card somewhere for, like, years, like, at least 4 or 5 years that he's just been kind of lingering. Um, and I wanna see them do something with Sheamus because, he came back from injury absolutely jacked. He's gotten back in shape. He's still a phenomenal talent. And like we talked about beforehand, is the fact that it's really crazy that they will invest time, like those vignettes, right? Like we were talking
Right.
about, about how we'll slide this into it. Um, but like you end up this vignette stuff ends up being nothing more than basically
An
them
ad. An
an
ad.
ad for WrestleMania, like not someone's returning, because that's what a lot of the rumor mills were thinking,
Mhm.
before Saturday Night Main Event, like, was Gunther gonna come back, or, any list of comebacks, and it turned out to be a shoddy ad that you've wasted television time on. Like, if you wanted to post that crap on, like, the WWE, like, Twitter page, go for it. I don't care. Go on Instagram, go on Twitter, I don't care. But to waste the all this time and energy you've done for a shoddy ad. Like we don't have enough ads.
Mhm.
Like like it's I don't know. I just feel like it's
Yeah,
wasted creative.
I'm right there with you. I think that is a prime example of where your creative priorities, like, that would have been so dope for, like, you know, Santos Escobar, or, like, uh, Aleister Black and Zelina Vegas.
Yeah.
Anybody, but I mean, like, what? You know what? I
Well, because
think it is.
they presented it like it was something that it wasn't.
Mhm.
And and so after weeks and weeks of them doing these vignettes, it ends up really being nothing. Like like
Yeah.
I mean, what was the one group um that they had with, like, they were showing all the TV, like the mystery TV screen character, because it was for the group, something Redemption or Retribution.
Yeah, Retribution, yeah.
Like, at least they had a end game for that.
Right, right.
But, like, and I feel like they've spent less on those than the other. And
Yeah,
so,
I mean,
like,
yeah. It's wild that, again, the decision was made to, like, do this to promote WrestleMania, and yet you can't get the stories week to week straight for LA Knight, or John Cena's retirement run, or, the WWE Undisputed Championship. You just it just yeah, there's so much more that could have benefited from that, and I think it was a waste.
um so the final match of Raw was Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss versus Bayley and Lyra Valkyria for the women's
Mhm.
tag team. And this was the match of the night for me. Like, I don't care whatever else happens the rest of the whole Raw. This was actually a good tag team match. Just because essentially you have three of them that are veterans.
Mhm.
You have one that's on the come up and still honing things in. And to have that much veteranship in the ring at one time, especially being, part of the Four Horsewomen,
Mhm.
I thought it was special. I think that, with Charlotte and Alexa Bliss being tag team champions, and I think that's honestly them just having fun.
Yeah,
You
I
know
you know yeah.
you don't have to put Charlotte Flair at the forefront chasing top tier championships. Well, I think she'll get to, like, 17, most likely, but, y I like that this is just fun,
Yeah,
because
it is coming off as a fun run for her, and we'll just see what takes place, what transpires. In the meantime, I am not like I'm not overly sold by the uncomfortable alliance or the friendly alliance between Charlotte and Alyssa, not Alyssa, but
Alexa.
Alexa. I
It,
think there's room for a conflict between those two that could turn into a match, but I think for
well, I
now we're
mean,
far away from that. But I think
yeah,
there's room for that to happen, and then that'll give wherever they want to go after that. But
yeah,
the whole Bailey and Lyra, I'm not sold on that tag team either.
no,
A
that's a
lot
mess.
less than I am about Charlotte and Alexa. Um, yeah,
Yeah,
but
and I mean, I think it's just making cake out of mud. I mean, it
yeah,
it's you know it's okay, and I
yeah,
think it is a similar like concoction of when you had Bianca and Jade, and then Jade whatever gets hurt, and then Naomi jumps in, and so like it's kind of a mismatch, it's a mispairing, but like for the time it'll run its course, and we will
mm,
see Charlotte and Alexa Bliss go at it. But this is one of those stories that like I'm okay with it being in the slow cooker,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And like now Judgment Day, I kind of want that to turn the heat up a little bit because there's been so many cracks that have formed. It's almost unbecoming for them to not like let it turn loose. And like you said, and I
hmm,
think that a lot of that is with because Liv Morgan being out, that we're kind of in a holding pattern, and kind of we're just kind of running this plateau game plan right now with Judgment Day, which is fine,
yeah,
because Liv Morgan coming back is going to be the ultimate comeback, you know.
yeah, yeah.
So
If they're gonna dig into the history books of WWE, I would say for Liv, remember when Triple H tore his quads and he came back and they had this whole like thing for him? Um, Rehash that. I mean, if you're running out of ideas, history repeats itself. Go on ahead, pull from the WWE history, pull some of those things, freshen it up for this generation of fans, and run with it. I mean,
yeah,
if that's the problem, if I mean,
yeah. I mean,
whatever.
and the nice thing is that like for the new fans, like basically anybody born with a two in front of their year, like they're not going to see the recycled stuff like for us that started with a 19 beginning of their
Mm,
birth year, like, and so I think like it's okay for us as the longevity fans to see some of these things recycled, but like decades apart.
yeah.
And I think for the new fans, it looks a lot cooler than it is.
Mhm.
But I don't think there's anything wrong with that, because there was a lot of good stories. There was a lot of good storytelling. There was a lot of good, matchups. There was a lot of good creative elements, you know, that are okay to recycle.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
um,
I think you're right.
so so over to SmackDown, and so Tiffany comes out, obviously, getting cleared, even though she's got a bum leg. Um, and Nick Aldis tries to keep the peace in this regards. They were supposed to have a face off. It kind of really didn't go that way. But I mean, for what it is, because Tiffany has been a phenomenal champion. I think Jade is the true next hurdle for Tiffany, win, lose, or draw. Um, just because we've really seen Jade come along, in the last year or so. Obviously, the injury, was the injury, but like, she came back and it looked like she put in the work. So I
Mhm.
feel like that, this particular matchup that seemed to have kind of come out of nowhere, but I think I'm okay with that. I'm okay because it makes sense. Just because like Tiffany's went through a lot of the roster
Right.
and Jade, was on the come ups. And like these are one of those matchups where it's like, okay, this makes sense, right? Like, even if it
Yeah,
was rushed.
a few weeks prior, Jade gets busted open to the white meat, and it looked awful. But and then she comes back. Now she's got this scar, and all these other things. I'm just. Do I think it was rushed? WWE has been doing that a lot lately, um, but that doesn't mean it wasn't a planned thing. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They just like jumped a
Eh,
couple of weeks ahead. You know?
yeah, and maybe that a lot of it was due to maybe Tiffany having an actual injury.
Yeah, that could be.
And that's WWE. That's just how it goes, man. Like, it's happened with, you know, dozens of wrestlers over the course of 50 years. Like
Yep.
you have to protect talent, and if, them losing a title because of something like that's just how it is.
Yeah.
And so, but so Ilya Dragunov gives another United States Open challenge, which I think is awesome for SmackDown. It's some consistency. It's
Yeah.
exciting. And so Nathan Frazier essentially comes out with Axiom, and followed by Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa and all this other stuff. Um, Basically ends up, obviously, well, he was, Nathan Frazier was first, so he gets the match. And let me tell you, this was a phenomenal match. Like, it did not disappoint at all. You have you have two, like, I guess we'll call them like middleweight, like
Mhm.
almost, I mean, pretty much cruiserweight. But you have Nathan Frazier, who this guy is just built different. I mean, the way and how fast he moves around the ring and into moves and to, and all just everything that he does, it's awesome. And then you have Ilya Dragunov which is more, he's more of like an assassin. And so you see these collide, and honestly, probably one of the best matches I've seen in a long time. And I think that speaks to the competitors in the match. You have Nathan Frazier, who was him and Axiom were are a phenomenal tag team. Very underrated in my eyes as far as opportunities. But and you have Ilya Dragunov, who, what people don't know is that he was the one to beat Gunther for the UK
Yeah.
NXT championship.
Yeah.
And if you want to really see an absolute banger of a match, go look it up. Go on YouTube, look it up. Ilya
Yeah.
Dragunov versus, I guess it was Walter at the time.
Yeah.
And if you want to, and that match was insane. Like, you want to
And
see
and that
you
match didn't have anybody in the crowd either. There was like
it was NXT UK, so I think there still was,
yeah.
but a very minimal crowd, much like the Performance Center. But yeah, so I mean, so Ilya Dragunov is no slouch.
Nope.
Now they had to kind of quickly end this match when they did an off the top rope move, and Nathan Frazier landed on his head. Hopefully everything's okay and he's not injured in any capacity. But basically he finishes with the H bomb, and to pick up the win, and again protecting performers.
Mhm.
Um, Now the Carmelo Hayes versus Kit Wilson. I mean, I re- I don't know really. This was just kind of in the middle of the match. this was more about the ending after the match than it was the match.
Yeah.
Because we're going to get, sooner rather than later, Carmelo Hayes versus The Miz. And that match will not disappoint. Because everybody can talk shit about The Miz all they want, yada yada.
Mm.
I will back him up 100% every time. Is that you got to look at how long he's been in the business and consistently in the business. You know, next to Randy Orton, The Miz is the longest tenure in my, like, I mean, without looking, but like pretty close to one of the longest, you know, continuous on the roster. But I definitely look forward to whenever they do this match. I feel like they need to pull the trigger on it and do it next week, or have some kind of backstage quarrel and be like, you know what? Don't fight here. Don't do that in the ring. Now, I don't want it to happen like that. I feel like I wanted to literally just have it straight up, just be like, Nick Aldis, you know, say something on social media before Friday and say, hey, now that we've had all this issues with, you know, the Miz and Carmelo Hayes, they're going to be facing off tomorrow or whatever day he records on. I want that to just be like that's what it is.
Yeah.
So we had a old rivalry between Alexa Bliss and Nia Jax. And like if you look at this match, you're like, this should be an easy win for Nia Jax. But the 5 feet of fury is a thing. You think of all the little people, you know, that have accomplished that, being like Rey Mysterio, the biggest little man ever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, honestly, this was an okay match. Um, I I don't think there was any premise to the match. I think it was just a match. Just like an old rivalry, just kind of, hey, this looks good on paper. Let's do this match. Now we had this backstage segment, and you know, between the Motor City Machine Guns and Solo, and basically Motor City Machine Gun basically, you know, kind of giving Solo shit in regards to like, well, we're the ones that took those titles and all that stuff. And so we get a Tama Tonga and JC Mateo match versus the Motor City Machine Guns, and in typical group format, we get outside interference from the MFTs. Go figure, and they pick up the win over Motor City Machine Guns. Like, I don't know what they're doing with the MFTs. Like, I don't know, because you're
I wouldn't be
presenting them.
surprised yeah. They're presenting them how, in your opinion?
You're bringing back something that has only something to do with two of the people in the group, right? Like the
Yeah,
whole
2,
face paint
3, you
stuff.
know.
And
Yes, yeah.
so
But
and
and
so
then
like
yeah.
but you have them as this dominant force. You have Tala Tonga, who is a 7-footer. You have Mateo, who's a wrecking ball. You have Tamatonga, Tongaloa. Like, you got all, like, what are you doing with this group to prove to us on paper, essentially, like, are they going to pull the trigger with tag team championships? Like, you know what I'm,
Yeah.
but like, my thing is that who would be the tag team champions? Because you have
Yeah.
5 people in this group. It would
Yeah.
probably be Tamatonga and Tongaloa is my guess. But I don't know who they would list as champions. Maybe they would be that rule that I can't think of, you presented about
Freebird's
having.
rule. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the Freebird rules only go for like 3 people. Um let's see here. I'm gonna look that up.
Yeah.
But I am the whole faction can't um Let's see. Allows a stable of 3 or more wrestlers to hold tag team champions on a rotational basis, with any 2 members able to defend. So, I mean, based upon that one statement, maybe they could have all 4 people, like, defend the tag team
Yeah,
champions, but only 2 of them at a time, obviously.
yeah.
That to me, that's stupid. I mean, the Freebird rules works best when it's a 3-man group and the promotion doesn't have a trios championship. Um, I think we're getting the face paint because it might be something for Survivor Series War Games,
Yeah.
which could work, but at the
Mhm.
same time,
I mean, but like the thing is that like
I don't.
the
Yeah.
War Games match is going to be as cliche
Mhm.
as possible. Now, because we haven't really seen the Wyatt Six too much, even though they're the champions, I feel like the Survivor Series War Games match is going to be nothing to do with Wyatt Six, and it's going to be some concoction of Cody Rhodes, Sami Zayn, an Uso, Roman Reigns. Like it's just gonna be like that thing that we've seen a million times.
Yeah, I hope not. It's gotta be we've gotta do something fresh. It's gotta be, MFT versus Wyatt Six, and if it's not gonna be that, don't don't do it.
Yeah,
Don't do it.
I
I
agree.
mean, yeah, because that's a spectacle. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? That's you got a ring full of Tongans, you got a ring full of, like, white sickos. I mean, yeah, let's just have a sick fun time.
yeah. I
Um,
mean, and the kicker of all kicker is that like, who would the Wyatt Sinks bring in as the fifth guy? Therein lies the mystery.
we've got it would be Bo Dallas.
Well, no, I'm saying you have Dexter Loomis,
Yep.
you have what's his name?
You've got Dexter, you've got Eric, you've got, JC, and you've got
Because
oh, yeah,
you have four.
right.
Because
So
you have Uncle Howdy, you have Eric Rowan, you have uh,
Dexter and you
Dexter
have
Loomis,
JC.
and the other guy that I can't think of his name,
Yeah, Joe Gacy.
Joe Gacy.
So
So
yeah,
now
we're good. Yeah.
like that. See, like now, if they build it to that, and then like they build it to like we don't know who the fifth guy is gonna be, like that would be a good conversation. That would be a good, you know, like who's gonna be the final guy. Like,
Right.
because really it's really endless who you could really think would join the Wyatt Six.
Even
You
if it was
know,
just for, like, a match and just to
yeah.
have fun,
I mean,
you know?
I
It could
mean,
it
like
could it literally it could go in any direction, but, like, what direction do you want it to go? Do you want it to be
it's
someone
John Cena.
I hope not. I hope not.
I
No.
don't want it, but
Yeah,
it's
same.
fucking feasible though. Um,
Mhm.
so So the most annoying thing, I would say in the top five most annoying things in WWE is contract signings.
Yeah.
And we get the contract signing between Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre for their match at Saturday Night Main Event. And I will say I am with Drew more on this than I was Cody in regards to like having a way out, having that champion's advantage and to take that advantage all the way away and to basically make it an even playing field. So if you're disqualified, you lose the title, and so like I liked that was that was a justifiable stipulation. I really feel like it should be a stipulation more. Um,
And maybe that's the way we get it. I don't because I don't it takes a certain type of story and heel to be able to pull off a disqualification in a championship match and let it be like either the end of the story or a continuation of a story. Because if a babyface does it, it goes against the characteristics of a face, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, I
Yeah, I mean, and it's like, yeah, I mean, it's very heelish to lose by a disqualification, and like you said, like the faces, it's weird to them.
Mhm.
It's foreign to the characteristics of a face.
Right.
But speaking of that, is that so Saturday Night Main Event kicks off out the gate, Drew McIntyre versus Cody Rhodes.
Mm,
And
yep.
this was, you know, it was a good match. Just because you had those lingering stipulations. You had multiple times when Cody like would run into the ref or whatever else. Now, like towards the end of the match, it was a little bit silly. Like the ref was just purposely in a spot, and you weren't even trying to make this like you were moving or something, and you just stood there and and so he basically had to basically run back that spot. In regards to Cody doing a Cody cutter to Drew McIntyre, and then obviously the ref gets knocked out, and we see Cody do a heelish thing, and it's a gray area for saying Cody was doing heelish things because he wasn't the one that brought the title into the ring. And so like Cody obviously takes advantage of that and does the DDT into the belt. Um and all in all, Cody gets the win, right?
Right.
And I have so much mixed feelings about this because like I've said this for a long time and I'll say it again. I'm sick of Cody being champion. Um and and again, I mean, I don't care if it's Drew or anybody else,
Mhm.
but in this instance, I wanted to see Drew win because Cody go do something else. You know,
There's nothing else for Cody right now in WWE other than being the face holding a championship. I don't think Cody being able to not have a championship and being the face of the company sits well with his character. You know what I'm saying? Do I want to see black hair Cody, just being an absolute menace for a few months? Sure, why not?
yeah.
It could be fun. But at the same time, I don't have a problem with a face doing some bad things for a good reason. You know what?
He he's like Roman Cena.
Mm,
You know what I'm saying? Or,
right,
or or John Reigns. Like he's kind of walking the tightrope um with his character, and I feel like sometimes we know what they can be as a heel, and we want that to be pulled out, and we want to see it. And like you said, like I mean, Cody's the face like of the company. He's the basically the next John Cena, and that's how they're portraying him.
right.
And it's tough to see him at the top of the echelon of the ladder while you still have John Cena, on his farewell tour. Um, and so it's kind of hard when you have two faces at the same time that are the face of the company. Now, obviously, John Cena's on his tail end, so I mean,
Yeah.
he's got 3 dates left. It's like 2 Raws and and then I think one last Saturday Night Main Event
Mhm.
in December. Now, we did get the scoop of this new John Cena final match tournament thing, and I think we're both on the same page. It's crap.
Yeah, earlier I was definitely against it. Now I'm kind of like, you know what? If you're having that difficult of a time to like get over new talent and this is the way you need to do it, all right, fine. Because at the end of the day, I don't think John Cena loses his last match, but it's also a pro wrestling trope that um you do lose your last match. Putting over newer talent, giving them the rub, whatever it is that, you leave it all in the ring and you go on about your life. Um, do I have a problem with John Cena in this type of match? Not really. No, I
Well,
don't.
and they said there would be NXT stars in it. So I think I if I had to choose like who I would want him to face, I think it would be like Obafemi. And what WWE has done for a long time with certain particular superstars with a certain skill set is that when they lose the NXT gold, they move on to the main roster. They've done it with multiple wrestlers, the most recent being Stephanie Vaquer.
Mhm.
And so I would love to see Obafemi be in this tournament and just to absolutely run roughshod in the fact that he's so good that like he belongs on the main roster and for this to be his inaugural match on the main roster to be going against John Cena would give the ultimate rub and the ultimate sign of respect to Obafemi. And I don't and like you said, maybe John Cena doesn't win his final match.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
and I and maybe that's him giving the baton to the next great superstar.
I don't see Obafemi winning this match or winning if he's in it, winning it. Um I just don't yeah, I don't see them doing that for Oba.
I mean, I
Um,
don't see him doing it, but
yeah.
like it's kind of a pipe dream, but like
Yeah, yeah.
but when they said there's gonna be NXT stars in there, he's the first one that's comes to mind.
Mhm.
And I don't know. I guess we're gonna see in the next couple weeks how it's going to get played out as far as this bracket. But the
Yeah.
fact that there's 16 people, and he only has, I guess technically, we'll see what in December. So he has about about 7 shows. So I feel like they're gonna probably have like one on each show a week, is my
Mhm.
guess. Um, to break down that bracket. I hope that they at least release the bracket to us so we can at least see it. And, everybody that gets that opportunity gets to build that. Now, I don't know how they're going to present it. Maybe it is pure roulette. Um, of who faces who, like a bingo thing, just
Yeah.
we don't know. But like I really hope that this being John Cena's last hurrah, let's not miss the ball on how creative does this. Because we
They've
know
been
creative
doing
stuff.
that this entire year. I mean, there's been some interesting matches, like, I think the Cody story, during his heel run was interesting, but I think it just failed miserably. It could have been so much more. Uh, I think that's it. That's it. You know what? That could have been so much more. Um, I think creative needs to do some redemption because right now they have not been as consistent the majority of this year with their stories as they were about mid last year up until the Netflix debut of this year. So somewhere they fell off. I don't know what the priorities were, but I think they'll turn it around in the next few weeks. But we've got to get through whatever else they've already cooked first. It's kind of like eating the leftovers that you know are going to be spoiled, but you get something better than that, the next time you cook. So,
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I definitely look forward to see interesting matchups that have never happened before.
mhm,
So I hope they don't just they make this whole thing mid. I hope they really, really do their legwork. This being the final match of John Cena's career, like it has to be good. It has to be top tier. So, but we'll wait and see.
mhm,
Now, so the second match of Saturday Night Main Event was Jade Cargill versus Tiffany Stratton, and
mhm,
with the injury, you know, basically faulting Tiffany Stratton on a lot of moves that she was trying to do, and Jade gets the win, in a pretty simple fashion. Really, it was very one sided.
mhm. Yeah.
But I think that Tiffany Stratton does have a serious injury. Um, and she performed the best she could on the way out, and we might not see her on TV for a while. And I don't think it'll be an extreme injury because she wouldn't be able to have a match if she was extreme. But like, I definitely think there's something that's going to take her, a couple weeks, maybe a month, at least a month, to deal with and rehab. So, but I'm all for Jade being champion, though. You know, like we've said before, she's come a very long way, and so I think this is new, this is fresh, this is exciting. A lot of our previous champions over the last probably year have been
Mhm.
different,
Yeah.
and so like I like that we're getting something different. And I hope that Jade holds this till WrestleMania.
You know, I
But do you think it's probable that she will?
I I don't know. Um During that match, I did see a couple of times where although she's improving, I think it was she kind of like rushed to get into her position. She didn't sell as strongly as she could have. For example, when Tiffany took out her knees and Jade fell into the steps, I think she could have sold that a lot more.
Mhm.
Um,
I
but
agree.
that's just a critique. It's not shaming her. Again, that's just a critique. Um,
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know how long her reign will be, but I do want them to recycle her uh that bitch character that she had in AEW, where she just was obnoxiously confident
yeah,
and arrogant, and she just had very one-sided squash matches. She let her strength do the talking. The thing that I would recycle from that is I wouldn't let her talk as much.
yeah. Just
You know,
let her actions do the talking.
yep, and
Yeah,
and take those lessons that you should have learned with Ronda Rousey. Don't let her talk, or if she does talk, make it short and sweet, and let her in ring actions um, be her mouthpiece.
yeah,
And then put her up against just give her like the like traditional heel stuff like, oh,
yeah,
I'm not going to defend against this person, but I'll
yeah,
beat up some local talent. I'll interfere in matches. I may take a cheap shot here and there.
yeah.
or maybe not. Maybe they just make her like, like an arrogant athlete who has the talent and puts it together and just wins because, you know,
Yeah.
brute force. So
Yeah.
there's a few ways that they could go with Jade. However, I just did a quick search and apparently um Tiffany's injury is storyline. So she's just probably she might just be taking a break. They might have wanted to move on from Tiffany and put it on Jade and and go that route. There's any number of reasons why. But maybe Tiffany's, not hurt. Maybe she is. Who knows? We'll see. But in the meantime, we've got Jade and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with
Yeah.
that. I think I
And
would have liked to have seen something. I think I would like to see a Nia Jax match with Jade, and just let Jade be a powerhouse, because
right.
that's what they would build
Yeah.
Nia to be. So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and then we'll just kind of see how things play out.
yeah,
Now the next match of Saturday Night Main Event was the Intercontinental Triple Threat match between Dominic Mysterio, Penta, and Rusev, and it played out exactly how I knew it was going to be played out. But again, you have like it's Eddie Guerrero 101,
yeah,
and he's playing it to a T. There was the one spot when Rusev had the accolade on Penta, and Penta was gonna tap, and Dominic goes over by the thing and rings the bell. Like 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 absolutely delightful. Like,
yeah,
I feel like, he's starting to become one of my top 5 right now, just because he's doing these obnoxious things so well that he's a true heel.
right,
He is the exactly what his name is, and that's Dirty Dominic Mysterio. Like, you expect with someone who literally has the beginning of their name on the thing as Dirty Dominic Mysterio
right,
to be dirty and underhanded, and he's doing it. And
yeah,
really I mean, he's really doing it not much to Judgment Day's benefit. Like, he's essentially walking around with all the gold. He's got the AAA championship and he's got the Intercontinental. I mean, he's walking with arrogance is because he can.
yeah.
Like,
I mean, you can't be mad about that. I mean, he's doing all of the things in his character that you would expect a heel to do, and people are eating it up. They went from, like, last year this time, he couldn't speak a word without getting booed out of the
right.
building. Now, people are just like, "You know what? We've come to love this, hateable person."
Yeah.
So, I
Yeah, I
mean,
mean, and like you say, he's literally checking all the boxes. Like,
yeah,
you can't be much more heel than he is right now. Like, like, short of him turning on Judgment Day or something, like, he's checking every box. Like, if Judgment Day ain't going to help him, he's going to outsource to El Grande Americano. Like, he
yeah,
don't care. He don't care what he's got to do and who he's got to, cut a metaphorical check to get what he wants.
alright.
Um,
You know what? I'm not mad about it. I genuinely
no,
am not
I
mad
it's great
about,
character work.
yeah, yeah, it is. And it's great. It's really good creative because again, it's a prime example of WWE's creative team successfully reaching into the archives, pulling out what makes sense from what they've done in the past and giving it to someone who can relate to the past, because 20 plus years ago he was in the past. So
Mhm.
I you know what? Fine. Yeah, yeah. Let's
It's
run it.
like it's and
It
and like I and like
it
I
wouldn't
said,
work for it wouldn't work for anybody else.
no.
No,
Well,
no.
and like I said about, things from the past, that people that are newer wrestling fans are like, oh my
Mhm.
gosh, this is so good,
Right.
but it's a recycled character, but like there's all like some people just have the it factor when it comes to replicating a previous character,
Yeah.
and so like it's working. Let's just put it in
It
that. Like
Yep. It's 100% it's working. Good job on WWE. You've got one character down pat. Now let's fix the rest of them. You know.
right.
You
Yeah.
know.
So the headline of the main event match of Saturday Night Main Event was CM Punk versus Jey Uso for the vacant World Heavyweight title. And this one I feel like it's pretty easy to explain. So we obviously get CM Punk wins, right? And Jey Uso is livid on social media as they do. And Jay has time to build his character in whatever direction he goes. He wants to stay jolly and yeetin', or he wants to be a heel and come out and be an asshole. Whatever it is, he has time.
Yep.
CM Punk doesn't. Like CM Punk time is against him at this juncture, right? Like
Yeah.
he's I think he's 48 or 49. I mean, he doesn't have much left in the gas tank because you can see him when he goes deep into these matches is that you can see that the longevity is the life's getting sucked out of him. You know what I'm saying?
I
And
think, just the fatigue at
yeah,
being, just being you know, he's not, I wouldn't call him an older um athlete, but I would say he's an older athlete, but he's definitely a veteran. He's, there's you can see, he's not who he was 10 years
right,
ago, 15
right,
years ago, 20 years ago. So and that's okay because people still get to enjoy CM Punk and
right.
they get to enjoy, Jay Uso. It's the thing that I hate is that um you have guys like our truth who could be in CM Punk's position but are not. And that is incredibly disappointing to see and to support from a company that has historically done that with characters and performers. I don't see why our truth could not be in that outside of some half-assed explanation of why, and then when you challenge that explanation they'll say like, well, that's something they don't want to do. You know what, there's nobody in the WWE that does not want to be world champion at least once, at least be the
Right.
face of the company
Yeah.
once.
Yeah.
And yeah, and CM
And
Punk has had multiple times, and
yeah.
he walked out of a company, and our truth never has. Whatever they've given him, same with Sami Zayn. um they've
Well,
just done.
I
And
mean, even
yeah.
even even like Seth Rollins. I mean, how many different characters has he been a part of? Whether it was, the with the Authority or the Messiah. Like Seth Rollins is, he's on the current roster. He's one of those. He's one of those that are in my top five.
Mhm.
Because you look at the longevity, and yes, he's had, a handful of injuries. Um, but like, when you think of the workhorses, right? You think of the Sami Zayns, the Miz, Seth Rollins, Randy Orton, Drew McIntyre. Like you think of these guys that have continued to perform week in and week out for years. And sometimes these people have had to leave and come back to redevelop, right? You
Right.
know
Yep.
and some of them have just gone onto the characters and they've kinda run their course, whether you have to leave or you have to run through 10 different dumb characters, whatever it be, you push through and you persevere.
Yep.
Now, brings to kind of end of this all, but like I had tried to post it in the group chat. We're only me and you, but like so we had talked about like I have a list of 5, you have a list of like 3, maybe 4 of current roster that you'd like to see champion. And I'm not saying even in like the next year. Just like at some point in time, let's say 18 months, you this is where you want to see someone be.
Mhm.
And so I in no specific order, I have Jacob Fatu.
Right.
And when you look at the fact that one, as soon as he got out of that bloodline nonsense, you let him rip, right?
Yep.
And he's a phenomenal talent. He is absolutely flawless in the ring. He's scary as all get out. like and so like that's one of the guys that I definitely, and obviously he hasn't been with WWE for a long time. And so this isn't something I want to see overnight. But I definitely want to see within the next, you know, 16, 18 months. Well, who do you got?
I've already stated my two men's champions. It's definitely our truth as number one. Yeah, so that would be my number one. You just put it on him, let the good times roll. He's playing with house money. Um, in the sense of it doesn't matter. It doesn't hurt him. It doesn't hurt um his legacy at all. It only makes him that much more of an incredible character and athlete and person.
Right.
So yeah. Yep.
Yeah, and I think the second one that I have on my list, I think we both agree on, and that is Sami Zayn.
Yep.
And he has been fingernails away from, achieving a top tier championship. And he's
Yeah.
another one of those guys that's an absolute workhorse. And really, and the thing about Sami Zayn is that he's never changed who he was.
Nope.
And that's a rarity, you know, to have, the 10, 15-year career he's had, and to really be able just to be Sami Zayn. And I don't and I without a shadow of a doubt, I really think what you see as Sami Zayn on TV is exactly how he is in real life.
Yeah.
He seems like one of those genuinely nice people. He seems like one of, those hard workers, and he's willing to be called the underdog to the cows come home. And I hope sooner rather than later that the underdog is the top dog. So,
Yeah. I think yeah, we're both in agreement with that. So I only have one more for women's world champion. Um I I think I'm gonna go with Chelsea Green. Yeah.
I think that's
Uh,
fair.
I think that, with Jade winning this weekend, I can't say Jade, because she's there. So yeah, Chelsea Green, I think with the run that she's had currently in WWE,
Mhm.
um, you've brought it up. She's brought it up and you've brought it up that she wants to have a Miz-like career. And the Miz did a lot of stuff that he probably wouldn't have wanted to do, but whatever they gave him, he worked with and he tried to make
Yeah,
it the best that he can. So yeah, I think Chelsea Green chasing, her legacy and what she wants to
yeah,
leave for professional wrestling. I think that's a good indicator, or that's a good reward, a good thank you, um, to have that accolade,
yeah,
for her to be
yeah.
world champion.
And the thing that people really don't know about Chelsea Green is that she's been in the business for a lot longer than you'd think.
Mhm.
and she's gone through character after character after character, and like the one thing that does bother me now though is that, like you said, like she seems like the one that you want to at least put in the picture, but it's like right now they have her doing this crap with Julia and Kiana James and the United States Championship and all that stuff like that. And just a sidebar, but like these women's secondary titles, if this was Vinnie Mac era, if you didn't defend it in 30 days, you vacated it.
I think there's that consistency of what the old regime wanted to portray and what the new regime is wanting to portray. There's going to be some rewriting of history, or yeah, of history, and some people don't like it.
Yeah.
I I I don't think it is. It's not something that I am like upset about, but at the
Yeah.
same time, I get when people bring it up, I understand, like, you know what? That is an established thing that we're all aware of.
Well, and she's
If you've ever
constantly
paid
on
attention,
TV. Yeah, and she's
paid attention
constantly
to
on
it,
TV.
you know.
And it's like you're a constant as a backstage segment, but and then you put Keanu James in there for a squash match. Like I want, if they wanted these secondary titles so bad, and I'm all for it, but you have to also live up to these secondary titles being workhorse titles. And that's where I'll kind of leave it. But like, so the last two guys, I already touched on the stuff about Roxanne Perez, but like the two that really, I mean, one should be something in the near future. One, I mean, is obviously near future too. But so I have LA Knight and Braun Breaker.
Mm,
And they keep on pulling out the rug from LA Knight. And I want to see almost like a heel LA Knight. Like but I also don't want him to be a complainer like Drew McIntyre. Like, so I feel like, LA Knight again, he gets opportunities and then kind of gets screwed out of them. Um, and he's way over, you know. And so like I feel like they need to do something with him.
mm,
I don't even care if it's a secondary. I'll take a secondary.
right.
I'll take something, anything. Just put any strap on him. And then like with Braun Breaker, where they did a very brief IC championship on him, along the Jey Uso, that whole battle and all that nonsense. But like, you can see that Bronson Reed is okay taking a back seat to Braun Breaker. Now this also leads me to believe that there's eventually going to be fallout. I don't know
Right.
when, you know, but we'll wait and see, I guess. I mean, we haven't really seen too much cracks. Um, Now we don't know if there's going to be another person that joins the Vision. Um, it's all up in the air. There's a lot in WWE that is truly up in the air right now. And it's too
Yeah.
much, and it's really just too much to get to. It's like a bunch of unfinished stories right now. So,
Yep. You're right.
but I'll say we put a pin in this, and we'll continue to dive into everything going on, because there's a lot of unfinished stories, there's a lot of pauses in these stories. So I really hope something like this week, I really hope something comes of a lot of these stories.
Yeah.
I don't want the John Cena tournament stuff to overdo the current stories. I want that to be its own separate thing. I don't want it to be engulfed in like John Cena versus the plethora of other things that are going on.
Right.
Like I want that to just be kind of a sidebar. That's fine.
Yeah.
But this is the Lockdown Podcast. Peace.